Do you know what makes the difference between practice exercises that are really effective and those that feel good, feel like they're productive, but don't actually result in lasting progress? In this video, I'm going to share with you the 3 key aspects that I find make the real difference in having practice that leaves you with really good lasting gains. And the first really important thing is that you need to have some sort of restriction in place. Now, this could be something that you must do, or it could be something where you're saying, I'm not allowed to do this. Either way is fine, but some restriction on what you're allowed to do. And this can be really big picture, general concepts, or it can be very specific technical things. So for example, if you're practicing improvisation over a chord sequence, a really conceptual one might be, I'll play in the first bar, and then I'll be silent in the second bar. Play again in the third bar, silent in the fourth. So just a very general restriction on where you're allowed to play with absolutely nothing at all about what you can play when you're playing. Or you could be much more specific about that. A detailed one, for example, might be, okay, I am going to outline each chord with the arpeggio, starting on the root, going up through the chord tones, and I'm going to play the root on the first beat of each bar. So that's another restriction, much more restrictive. And it can be any or all of these, depending on what you're working on at the time, but have a restriction in there. Otherwise, you're not practicing, you're just playing. And again, if you're not working on improvisation, you're working on some sort of repertoire, all sorts of things you could look at here. It could be, well, which particular bars am I practicing? Maybe I just don't want to run through the whole thing 10 times. I'm going to focus in on 1 or 2 bars and say, this is where my focus is this time. That's my restriction. Or maybe it's the aspects that you're working on. What is it that I'm doing? Am I focusing on rhythm or tone or dynamics? All those sorts of things. And the second thing that you want to do is go further than just a restriction only, a general restriction. Ideally, you want to limit your focus to just one thing that you're really concentrating on. And the reason for this is you're going to find it much easier to actually improve something if there's one very specific thing that you're focusing on. If you've looked at what you're working on, you've said, hey, well, there's 7 things I want to improve, very normal, and I'm going to try and do all of those at once. Well, this just gets really difficult. It is very, very hard for your brain to hold lots of different things in mind and say, I'm going to work on improving all of these at once. And chances are, you're really going to struggle to see any improvement at all. It's just cognitive overload. Whereas if you're just focused tightly on the one thing, that's definitely something where you can hold it in your mind, you can work on it, you can see progress. And actually, this idea of measuring progress, very important as well. Because again, let's say I've said I'm going to work on 7 different aspects of something. And chances are they're not all going to improve or stay the same equally. Some of them will get quite a bit better. Some of them might stay the same. Others might actually drop off. And in which case, how do you evaluate how well you've done? Some things have got better, some things have got worse. Does that count as improvement? Difficult to know. Whereas if I'm only focused on one thing, I can look at that and go, yeah, that's got better. Or no, it hasn't. Maybe I need to find another exercise to work on it with. And I know it's really tempting to think, but I don't want to limit myself to just one thing. There are all these things and they're all important and I want to work on all of them. And totally understandable, totally fine. But the way to make rapid progress is to focus on things one at a time. See progress with that one thing you're working on, then you move on, you do the next one. You're just putting some of them off until a little bit later. And although it seems like you're slowing yourself down, actually in the long run, you're going to do much better this way. And the third thing is that you want to have an absolute black or white assessment of whether you achieved what you set out to do or not. We do not want to be in the space where there's a subjective judgment. Did I do this well? Did I do it really well? Did I do it not so well? You want to take all that guessing out of it and take all the potential for it to become just, what mood you're in, kidding yourself out of it, and leave it just as simple, black and white, easy to make a decision, yes or no, no doubt. Because depending on your mood, if you said, I'm practicing this and my judgment of whether I do it well or not is how I'm seeing whether I'm improving. Well, if you're in a good mood or you just want to kind of feel good about yourself, it's quite easy for you to go, hey, that was pretty good, and sweep all the things under the carpet that weren't perhaps quite so solid. And equally, if you're feeling a little bit down about yourself, you might actually be doing some things really quite well, but be sitting there finding those little faults so that you can say, oh, no, that wasn't good enough. I'm clearly not making progress. Instead, what you want to do is have something very definite where, there is no argument about it. Either yes, I did it, or no, I didn't do it. So, for example, if we're practicing improvisation again, you might be working on your ability to start a phrase on the second beat of a bar. And in that case, you put aside for one moment all those other things, like, did I play a great phrase? Did I even hit the right notes in the scale? All you're looking at is, did I start every single phrase on the second beat of the bar? If yes, I did, then I've hit what I was trying to do with the exercise. If no, I didn't, even if actually what I played sounded great, then I've failed. I've not met my aim. And that's the sort of thing that you're looking for, a real black-white, totally objective assessment of did you do it or not. So in order to make your practice exercises really effective, before you set out to do an exercise, just ask yourself those 3 questions. Am I restricting myself in some way? Am I really focusing in on just one thing? And is there a very objective yes/no answer to did I achieve it or not? And if you do that, then I think you'll find your exercises that you practice result in massive progress for you. If you'd like to get even more out of your practice time, then check out my video on improving the quality of your practice next. And if you'd like the special practice and performance tips that I only share with subscribers, then head on over to playinthezone.com and sign up for the emails. They're free. I've been Mark Morley-Fletcher. Thanks so much for watching. Please click below to subscribe if you haven't done so already. And while you're down there, why not hit the share button to pass this video on to other musicians? Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.